Guys, are you excited for this matchup, though, with the Rams and Bengals? I think it's something interesting about it is we do have a couple of high-powered offenses to talk about today. Obviously, both coming from a similar structured scheme. Both of these teams actually ranked number 1 and number 2, respectively, in empty backfield sets. So they're always about bunch formations, empty backfield, getting everything spread out. Running 11 personnel is pretty frequent as well. So I think we're going to see something where we see a lot of passing involved in this game. Now, the better quarterback at the end of the day, that remains to be seen. I have my opinion on that. But, Tanner, what do you think right now going into this game? Where are your thoughts at with the Bengals and Rams game right now?
I mean, I'm kind of more interested in seeing how the Bengals come out and, respond to being the underdog in this game, essentially. You're coming out versus a team, Los Angeles Rams, that went out and traded first-round picks for the next 5-6 years to get big names. Von Miller, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, and they're just lining it up there. And, I mean, those guys aren't old by any means. They're going to come out there and hit you. And they actually have a pretty good rushing defense as well. So, I mean, it's just going to be kind of interesting to see exactly how Joe Burrow responds. Is he going to be the Titans guy that stands in the pocket and gets sacked 9 times? Or is he going to be a guy against the Chiefs where he comes out and runs the ball a little bit for the rushing yards?
Right.
So, I mean, that's kind of my interesting. Obviously, I think LA has the overall better team. But then again, the Bengals have the momentum going in too. So they just beat 2 pretty good teams, I'd say, in the AFC playoffs here. Mm-hmm. And the close games as well. So I don't know.
We're kind of seeing a game here, though, between a team built by free agency and one built through the draft. And oftentimes you see the teams built through the draft, there's the most successful, sustainable way to go about things, where a team like the Rams, who are structured a lot of ways through free agency and through trades, obviously Stafford coming from Detroit, obviously Odell Beckham Jr., and then on the defensive side, as you mentioned already, Von Miller, and some of those other guys, Jalen Ramsey on that team. These are guys that were brought in through free agency, through paying them, not homegrown prospects, where the Bengals are full of guys like Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, all those kind of guys. So it's kind of an interesting battle of 2 structured teams, structured differently, but also play similarly.
And you got to remember, too, the Bengals here had some injury concerns going into the last week of the regular season as well. That's why I didn't play in week 17, week 18. What do we call it now?
Week 18.
Yeah. But the Rams also got Eric Weddle come out of basically retirement for the last, 2 weeks of the season. Now he's on the playoff squad and making some big plays. So healthy bodies help everybody out. And hopefully they're tied in for the Bengals. CJ Uzoma.
Right.
Uzoma.
Apparently he's got it good in with Kay Adams. So that's a situation to watch unfold. You know what I'm saying?
Everybody, it sounds like it's pretty optimistic that guy will be there. But it sounds like the Rams tight end is going to be out.
Right. Now, Joe Burrow's going to have to move. Aaron Donald had 12.5 sacks this year, 19 tackles for loss. So sitting in the pocket's not going to be easy happening for the Bengals. Jason, what are your thoughts on the game before we get into the gambling portion?
I think for me this is just a battle of wills. And the Rams, as we all know, have been here before in 2019. Not this exact roster, but they've been here before. They had Jared Goff back then as their quarterback. It's a little bit different this time around, because when I look at what Matthew Stafford has done this year, he's 72% completion percentage just in the postseason. And I think the game plan for Stafford has just got to be to avoid mistakes. You look at Stafford during the regular season, he does have the number 1 QBR in the fourth quarter, the number 1 passer rating in the second half for the whole year. So I think it's not something where he's trying to prove himself. I mean, he's already done that. But let's be honest here. This is the biggest game of Matthew Stafford's life. And this is the biggest game and probably in the history of the Rams, So, everybody's building this up to be the Rams defensive line versus the Bengals offensive line. And I think there's something to be said about that, because I do believe that Aaron Donald is the best player in the game. And not to mention the fact that they've got Von Miller, Leonard Floyd. They are going to disrupt that Bengals offense. And do we really think that the Rams D-line is going to be upstaged by what Tennessee did to Joe Burrow in that wild card game?
Can't see it.
I find that hard to believe. And so I think you look at that Rams D-line, this is a statement game for them. And so you look at the fact that Joe Burrow was sacked 51 times in the regular season, 12 times in the postseason, that those numbers going up against that Rams defensive line, to me, it's not going to be Joe Burrow's fault if and when they lose this game. But the Rams are just the better roster. This is their moment of destiny for me, not to mention the fact that they're playing in their home stadium. And so I don't believe in rigged games. That's just kind of a conspiracy theory. But why do you guys think that, the Super Bowl was played, in Tampa Bay last year, and Tampa Bay won the Super Bowl?
Right,
Why do you